What is the role of religion in our ever-changing world? From the News Channel 5 network, this is Issues of Faith.
Welcome, everyone. I am Ben Hall. Good show today. We are talking about one of Nashville's great ministries, the Nashville Rescue Mission. Very happy to have with us once again the president and CEO of the Rescue Mission, Glenn Cranfield. Thank you for being here. And let's start out with where we are in Nashville as far as homelessness. We're a growing city. Where do we stand? What are we seeing with the level of homeless in our city?
Well, certainly Nashville is growing. It's on a boom. You know, so much renovation and great things happening across the city. It's the IT city, and so it attracts a lot of folks that are coming for different reasons, for job and different career development. But the thing we also need to understand, it also attracts the broad spectrum of the economy. So there's people that are coming here that are hurting and homeless and maybe jobless in other situations and thinking, okay, maybe in Nashville I can have an opportunity there. Maybe in Nashville I can make it. And we've always had that kind of with the music industry, but now just across spectrum, certainly in construction industry, people are coming and not really having anything, but thinking they can really get a good start here. And so, and beyond that, it's just that as the city grows, the entire spectrum of that economic range grows as well. So as we're experiencing growth, we're also experiencing growth in the homeless area and in the poverty area. So we really work hard to kind of get our arms wrapped around that and let them know that there is a place where they can come and get the help that they need.
Is it family type homelessness or you know, single male homelessness? You know, what kind of, are you seeing all of it? We are seeing all of it.
The increase is with the women, single women with children. Now that's not drastically increased, but we see that marginally increasing each year. So single women with children. Still the predominantly large factor of homelessness is the single male. And so that encompasses about 70% here in Nashville of our population, and that's pretty standard nationwide. But we've seen the female and the single mom with children range from going up from about 25% up to about 30% now. So you can see how that really is affecting the growth in that area a little bit.
And have we seen it increase as the city grows? There was a time the city was talking about doing away with homelessness, which I thought was very noble, but I questioned how is that even possible? So as the city grows, are we seeing more long-term homelessness? You're saying people are coming here hoping to find something. Is it short-term? What about the nature of that?
Well, that's a great question. Thankfully, we are seeing more short-term. There are those that we would term chronic homelessness, severe mental health issues, severe physical disabilities and mental disabilities that really preclude them from living independently largely. And so that is the chronically homeless that we'll always have with us. And so we want to provide meaningful care, meaningful, responsible care for them during their time that they're hurting and poverty and mental health and all those issues. But thankfully, we are seeing a lot of folks now being placed into homes and apartments. And so now the strategy is, you know, used to the rescue mission in the world was we have a great big front door that's wide open with our arms wide saying, y'all come in, we're here to help. But we really didn't have an exit strategy. And so there are a lot of folks that are coming in that front door and across the threshold of our door that we realize, you know what, you don't need to live here. You don't need to be here very long. And so the quicker we can get involved with their life through case management and counseling, then we can quickly get them out into productive living with a job and apartment. Our case managers say we welcome them in with loving arms, but we put a loving, firm hand on their back saying, push you through this real quickly as best we can to help you live independently and free from the shelter system.
And that may be something that people don't know, that you have case managers.
Yes.
Because you're right, I think a lot of people think, okay, it's the mission, and they're there with open arms, come in, spend the night. But what do you mean when you say you have case managers?
We have case managers and counselors, and really that's designed for them to get involved in their life a little bit. What causes you to be here? What brought you here? And so we glean all of this information, and then we help them deal with those issues, whether it's medical or mental health with the mental health co-op, veteran services, all kinds of things that are designed to let's get involved with you, certainly feeding, clothing. Here's what we call it. We call it Hope for Today. We're going to bring you hope for today. We're going to help you eat. We're going to find you a good place to sleep tonight, medical help and clinical help, all of those things. That's hope for today. But hope for tomorrow says we don't want you to have to live here and be dependent upon this all the time. So hope for tomorrow says we want you to find a place to where you can live independently. And so then our counselors and case managers work with them to help place them, get them the resources that they need to move out of a shelter environment and out of that dependency into independent living. And so that's moving them along. We understand that there's those that are severely mentally ill, and we're probably limited on what we can do in that area, but the large majority of them do have that capability and that hope for living independently outside the shelter. And so we work really hard to move them along. We have a residential recovery program that in the course of a year there'll be about 350 to 400 people that will go through the residential recovery program, and that's intensive to get off of drugs and off of alcohol and out of other issues, other debilitating issues, so that they can live independently once we find them a place and a job. So it's all designed to certainly care for them today, but with a greater goal of moving them out so that they can be hopeful tomorrow and live independently.
And the time frame for that, best case scenario, what's the shortest somebody may go through that, and the longest maybe you allow someone to stay in there? What's the time frame? On
the 12-month recovery program, because we're dealing with drugs and alcohol, it's a 12-month. It is 12 months. That's really the minimum. There are places that have like a 90-day program, but when you're really dealing with addictions and you're dealing with drugs and alcohol and some of the hard things of addiction, 90 days is not going to do that. So we're retraining them, if you will. We're teaching them about responsibility, what employers are looking for. Everything from being on to the job on time, orderliness, character development, all of those things, as well as getting off of the alcohol and the drugs. So all of that works together in the course of 12 months to teach them basic responsible living. And then hopefully we've really instilled good principles in them, as well as getting them off of their addiction so that they can have an opportunity to put a good foot forward and live independently.
There are certain stereotypes people have. They categorize perhaps homeless people. You were there every day on the front lines. What is the biggest misconception you think that people may have?
There are several. One of the misconceptions is that they don't work. Many of the homeless people, the larger majority of them, do have jobs. They do work. They work day labor. They work in minimum wage jobs that do not support independent living. They work in construction crews. They work in many different areas. And so that's, oftentimes in my work, people say, I wish they'd just go out and get a job. I wish it were that easy. They do have jobs. They do work. They do have income. But you can't sustain independent living, certainly if you have children. If it's a single mom with 3 or 4 children, she can't sustain independent living on a minimum or slightly above wage. And so we really work hard to help give them the education. Many of them lack their GED, so we give them the education to increase their wage earning ability so that they can have an opportunity to live independently. So that's one, is that they just don't work and they don't have a job. They do. The other is that they're all alcoholics or drug addicts. That's not true either. There are a large portion of them that are, but they're not, and many of them may drink, but that doesn't mean they're alcoholics. And just like in our culture, they're same thing. So they're not all alcoholics, they're not all drug addicts. Generational poverty is brutal. When you're grown in that area and you're raised in that area, you don't even know who your father is, possibly. I mean, there's all kinds of issues. When you're looking at a 30-year-old man that's standing in front of you that's homeless with all kinds of issues, it's not the 30-year-old man. It's the 6-year-old boy that we need to think about. What happened in the course of your life? What abuse? What all those things that happen to make you who you are today at 30. And so we start peeling back the onion, if you will, to try to deal with those issues to help him deal with that and live independently. So it's very complex. It's not easy. It's not just go out and get a job and they're all drug addicts. It's very complex. And so those are some of the things I like to help people understand.
But yeah, people do say both those things, and that is very interesting to hear you say that. And I know you've done this for a long time. You came to Nashville from Oklahoma.
That's right, Oklahoma City.
From Oklahoma City. And has it changed? Is that a somewhat new development that many of the people that are homeless today actually work? Is that, or has it always been that way?
It's always been that way for me. In my experience since about 1990, it's always been that way. It's kind of a misconception in our culture, and we do a poor job of communicating that. And so you see someone that's in poverty, and that's just kind of the natural thing we think of. Well, they just need to go out and get a job. And so their job opportunities are different than others, and so they don't have the college education. Many of them don't have the high school education, and so they're not really applicable to get some of the other jobs, the higher wage earning jobs that maybe you and I would have. And so they do have lower wage earning jobs, but they work. And so that's kind of always been the case, and so we don't think about that. So our job then is to help them be able to attract a higher wage earning job. And so job skill training, working in the kitchen, working in the lawn care, work therapy is what we call it. So we're teaching them the value of work and teaching them the responsibility of work, and how work is a great thing. The fact that we have our health and are able to work is a good thing. And so we teach them that work is not necessarily the curse that everybody talks about. You can actually enjoy your work, and you can enjoy the day's labor, and you can feel good about that. So there's a lot of teaching and training around that. And so they're working on construction crews, they're working on day labor jobs, and they're working in minimum wage jobs, and we want to help them increase that capacity to earn some more money so that they can perhaps live independently.
And are there policy changes, and I don't know that you can get political, I don't know, but I mean, are there policy changes that would help when you're dealing with this population, either on a national or local level?
Well, certainly there are. When we're dealing with housing, we're dealing with even in the local area about zoning issues. Affordable housing is a huge issue, and that's a policy issue because there's several things. It's not just, everybody says affordable housing, but what does that really mean? Because affordable housing is important to everyone across the spectrum of the economic spectrum. It's important to the guy that's making, $100,000 a year. It's important to the guy that's making $20,000 a year. Affordability and affordable housing is one of those things that's all relevant, but that's certainly something that we need to attend to policy-wise as it relates to those that are in deep poverty. And so another area that I know these are hot issues in Nashville, but it's transportation. It's a huge issue. Transportation is an annoyance to a lot of us, but to them it's a very, very much a necessity. They don't have cars, and so when you have someone that's in poverty, that's homeless, and they're coming into a shelter, and we realize, okay, you need your ID, you need to go to the county health department, you need to go to the Social Security office. Those are day trips right now in Nashville for somebody that's on their feet. And so we're working. I'm really proud of the MTA and the transportation system. We're working really well together to figure out some real long-lasting solutions for those that are in poverty and those that are homeless to help get them, expeditely help get them to the areas in which they need. So those are two areas that are just huge with us. Affordable housing, apartment. As you know, the apartment rent and the cost of living in Nashville skyrocketed. And so when someone's coming from a homeless shelter and they're excited about living independently, and so we're trying to match them with a place to live, you can see the difficulty that we have there. And of course the transportation issue as well.
Those are critically important issues. Okay, we're going to take a break. Okay. We're going to come back. I want to talk a little bit about the mental health issues and also about what churches can do in the holiday season coming up at the mission. All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.